And my second career is innovation, innovating in health in areas like vaccines or gene editing. And the President and I are talking about taking American innovation to the next level to cure and even eradicate some of these diseases.
And I remember there was a period when I was traveling around America when in I think about 15 days, I met 12 separate people that were telling me that they'd had the same experience. They had seen someone appearing human, transform into a non-human, reptilian, and then back again.
I'm at Whole Foods and I'm about to pay for my groceries with my... That's the coolest thing ever.
The notion that rights don't come from laws and don't come from the government, but come from the creator, that's what the Iranian government believes. It's a theocratic regime. So the statement that our rights do not come from our laws or our governments is extremely troubling.
So Ripple actually was the second largest coin prior to the SEC's investigation of them. They did this really weird lawsuit against them. And basically, the Ripple's going to be the track that everything's going to be running on in the future. Bank of America, like I said, they were doing 100% of their internal transactions. They've got 83 different patents on it.
So the dollar's going down.
The worst time since President Nixon.
Since 1973, yeah. And we all know what happened after that, which was the petrodollar accord. But what does it mean? The dollar decline is being engineered by the Treasury. This is part of the Mar-a-Lago Accord that Steve Moran wrote about last November. So gold's going to go up a lot. I would expect $4,000 an ounce by the end of this year, 2025, but much higher in the years to come. You'll see gold in well over $10,000 in the not too distant future.
Well, thanks for hosting us. I mean, this is quite a group to get together. And, I think, all of the companies here are making huge investments in the country in order to build out data centers and infrastructure to power the next wave of innovation.
I'm a computer scientist by training. I have a PhD in computer science and engineering. I probably started work in AI safety, mildly defined as control of bots at the time, 15 years ago. And I realized that the bots are getting better and better. And if you just project this forward enough, they're going to get better than us. First 5 years at least, I was working on solving this problem. I was convinced we can make this happen, we can make safe AI. But the more I looked at it, the more I realized every single component of that equation is not something we can actually do. And the more you zoom in, it's like a fractal. You go in and you find 10 more problems, and then 100 more problems. And all of them are not just difficult, they're impossible to solve.
1 in 36, and it used to be 1 in 10,000, have autism now? Can any of you guys with a straight face say that we shouldn't look at every aspect to what we're putting in our kids, be it from the food to the vaccines?
Cars now steer themselves through our cities. Robots hold steady hands in the operating room. And drones are redefining the future of war. Innovations of first-generation humanoids, factory automation, and autonomous vehicles have surged from private sector investment. Every one of these advancements is powered by AI. The robots are here. Our future is no longer science fiction.
Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Friday, September 5th, 2025. We're going out of the matrix into prime reality. Thank you so much for joining us on X, Rumble, and YouTube, and here in a live chat with our wonderful moderator, two steps behind, aka Raymond. And I know Ronnie is also on the way. And of course, Christine, my wonderful wife, wise thumbs in the live chat. Thank you all. For, another important broadcast, I believe, very important. You know this. I don't sugarcoat things. We have done a lot of research and are doing a lot of research in this exponential curve of the tech explosion, AI explosion, robotics explosion, crypto explosion. And very often it seems like there is a one-sided perspective. And that's what I want to talk about today. There's something that's growing, at least energetically, faster and more than AI, but it's very seldom talked about. We are observing it all over the world, and we believe it's an incredibly positive and beautiful factor. But first, let me say where AI is. We are, like they say, this exponential curve, and we are literally where the curve starts going upward. So we're shooting up. AI is shooting up, and as you can see, the messaging is so it's so in sync. The robots are here, AI in education. The administration is pushing it through all sectors, basically removing any existing guardrails and very, very skeptical of any new regulations regarding it. So that's just going to play out. And many people who I want to say everyone who's been involved in AI safety seriously is saying the same thing. Everything that they have suggested in the early stages of AI development was disregarded, and all the big companies simply went beyond it and didn't care. While they're screaming, "This is dangerous," they're also developing. Okay, so this is what's happening here. We're going to keep an eye on that. The entire system is going completely digital, right? Tokenization of everything. Everything will have a digital representation. Everything will be sort of fractal. Money is going digital completely. We know this. It's going to be a little different in some places, but crypto, CBDCs, that is what's happening. Now, let's turn the page right here. There's something that is also growing exponentially, but it's not being talked about. If I look at what has happened in the last 5 to 10 years in the quote unquote awakening community, which can't be defined as one thing, it is simply people of all walks of life, in all countries, of all religions, ethnicities, and whatnot, who are transcending their current belief systems and who are outgrowing whatever they were programmed with, who are remembering and relearning what it means to be truly human. Because the truth is, if we look at our current state, or our state, the state of humanity, on average, we don't really live up to the potential of our species. We're a bio-robot, if you will, because we live so little of what our potential is, right? And this has been said, that we use very little of our brain capacity, that we use very little of our DNA capacity. But that is changing, and it's changing by the minute. And this is what I want to talk about today. This is also changing exponentially, which is a positive sign. Now, people always say, but listen, this is only a few million or maybe tens of millions around the world, but it's not the majority. We don't need that. Exponentiality simply means that something is growing in a non-linear way, and our human mind has a hard time imagining what that means. So we have heard over and over again from all the AI experts, from the Ray Kurzweils, from the Elon Musks, from the Sam Altmans, from all these people, we have heard where AI is going, what the future looks like. We've heard this, we've seen this, and we see it unfold. But how often do you hear someone say, hey, if we look at the progress that the awakening community has made on all levels in the last 10, 15, 20 years, and if we project this 10, 20 years into the future, then where will they be? Where will this community be? What will the average human in that community live like, be like? And what will their effect on the collective be? There's very little focus on that. Almost no one talks about it, other than in terms that are fantastical and sort of sensational. We're just going to ascend into 5D and I don't want to go that route, because I think it's a good distraction that keeps people inactive. But let's look at the thousands and thousands of communities, healing communities, food growing communities, self-sustaining, regenerative, permaculture, in all areas, in culture, in music, in everything, in energy. Let's look at that. And then let's see how lives and lifestyles are going and are changing in those communities and what the impact might be on society at large. So I want to look at that with you today. And so this is what we're seeing is really, and this, we can observe this, innate abilities are coming back, which means dormant abilities that we already had, but we forgot about them. They're dormant in our DNA. And now they're coming back because we're focusing on it and because we're raising the level of consciousness. So heightened intuition and inner knowing. Many of you know this, that over the years, you have shifted more and more from solely logic and brain-based decisions to intuition and inner knowing. This also means the ability to have quote unquote downloads, which are not, as people often think, just, something that comes from a higher being and you're channeling it, but you're downloading information from the field in which all information is stored. And there are basically pathways that we can open up within ourselves that allow us to access that. And it's not a exact science. Sometimes it's a little nebulous. Sometimes it's a little half of this, half of that. But still, that is coming back, and more people are living by it, which is really important. Then, and the energetic perception. So many of you have described this in comments and emails that you can feel people. Like you can feel their energy. You walk into a place, you can feel the energy of the place. You can feel even the energy of entire cities or systems. So that is something that wasn't very common. People could, the best that people could do in the past 20, 30 years ago was say, oh, I feel good here. I don't feel so good here. But now people have words for this because it's an innate ability to read the energy of someone, their aura, read who they are beyond what they say and present themselves to be. That is coming back. Then we're going into really conscious co-creation where we're beginning to realize that, yes, we can actually regain health. We can help others regain health beyond manipulation with, surgeries, pills, sort of the allopathic system, but it's going into energetic healing. We also realize stuff like, and this is being proven over and over again, while the psychopaths are running their machines for the weather and whatnot, real people are coming together in a specific geographic location, and they are praying rain. They're not praying for rain, they're praying rain. So they're sitting there meditating, going into an imaginative state where they feel the rain on their skin, they can smell the rain in their noses, they can taste what it tastes like, and they intensify that. And so often the rain will follow. It'll start raining in that area, even if it was dry for a long time. Conscious co-creation, all of that is coming back. Self-healing, healing others, telepathic communication. People experience this as quote unquote synchronicities very often now, where they will think of someone, that someone texts them or calls them, or they will have a very, very specific kind of unique thought. And then in the next hour or so, they will see somebody or hear someone or see a video of someone expressing that exact thought. I know we have it a lot in this community. So many of you say, you'll comment, I can't believe you said that today, Jean. This is what I've been contemplating this morning. Well, we are, we're connected. We're in a field and we're telepathically communicating. We just don't know it quite consciously yet. We're doing it, but we're not doing it as consciously as we will be more and more and more. And here's a big one too, flexible perception of time. This is what we're going to talk about a little more in the near future here. How we can transcend our current limitations of past and future that we believe to be real, and what changes we can make in both those timelines, forward and backward, if you will. Very interesting. And we're going to even run some experiments and let you know how that goes, which is part of exactly what we're talking about here, our abilities and lifestyles. So how will we live? If you've read the Ringing Cedars books, you know that there is a an optimal way for a couple or a family to live with and on the land. It's the most optimal way that we have found so far in our decades of research. It's the Kin's domain principle, which clearly defines how we live with the land, with the animals, communicate, how we communicate with the seeds, with the trees, with everything around us, what matters, what doesn't matter. Very, very beautiful. But even if it's not a Kin's domain, even if it's homesteading, a more classical approach, if it's a permaculture approach, all of these things within the awakening community are becoming more and more known, and even more and more every day. So people are not just looking to live and get a little piece of land, but they're actually looking to do it in a beautiful, regenerative, and energizing way. So it's completely different from the agriculture that we've been taught over the last few hundred years, and that we've been told is the standard model. So that's happening. Self-sufficient communities. All of this is growing exponentially. We just found this model. It's actually beautiful. And we want to get this guy on. I forgot what it's called, but there's this it's a franchise system. So it's a ranch franchise system. But basically what these folks do is they buy up together as a group parcels of land, 500 acres and more, and they have a strategy to go in and buy such pieces of land that they first study and see that they have everything that they need. And then they'll have 50 families, for example, that go in and they buy 10 acres, right? Or they have their 10 acres on there and they can build on there. And then there's a completely self-sustainable system for energy, water, and food. And then there's a franchise system where it's built around livestock and gardens, and everybody can, use that as their food, but also as a source of income by selling the excess that's being produced. It's really, I watched the whole presentation. I was impressed. It's a beautiful model. So we're going to look into that a little deeper and present it to you here in the near future. Minimal reliance on technology, which means that our community, I suggest, probably will not fully go like Amish and we're not using anything. It will be more like if this is aligned, if it only serves and doesn't have any downsides, if you will, I think we're going to use it until we feel like we don't need it anymore. And that's okay. But I think that's where this is going to go. And then we will, through this, we are already creating collective fields, right? Collective consciousness fields, which we've talked about a lot. And what that means is that if you take a city, your regular city, be that Australian, European, New Zealand, America, Canada, and anywhere else, that city has, because of the average consciousness level of people, the city and what happened in that city, of course, it has a level of consciousness. So when you walk into it, you walk into that field, and depending on how conscious you are, you're more or less influenced by it. What we will and are doing as communities, as more and more people live closer to each other in geographic areas and live a beautiful, harmonious lifestyle, the consciousness of that entire area goes up. And these fields begin to really sort of radiate out into mainstream society and have a positive effect. And people that walk into such fields can feel it. So people that come to high conscious villages or settlements, they can feel it. They feel better there. They start healing there, have better thoughts there, be more harmonious, be more creative. Now that's what we're going to see go up exponentially as well. The rhythms are going to be different. These are not going to be 9-to-5 communities. These are going to be more sort of in tune with the natural rhythms, circadian rhythms, if you will, and in sync with family rhythms. So it will be built around what is best and most natural for all of life, for all of the life within those communities, rather than what might serve some headquarters in a big city. So that's not going to be the same anymore. The 9-to-5 model is gone here, and education completely different. It's lived, it's experienced, it's everyday practical. So nothing is abstract, but everything is hands-on, and it will be mentorship. It is already happening. It's happening outside. It's happening in nature through, and also education that is, there's universal principles that are going to be conveyed and taught to children, but then there's a body of knowledge that is more important because of where those people live. So it's not a standardized model, but I presume that families in Alaska have certainly different needs than families in Florida. So knowledge and education is going to reflect that as well. And a lot of it is going to be more spirit based, more intuitive based. And if I say it's going to be, it already is actually. So what then becomes possible? Like I said, coherent fields shift energies. This is where we become highly influential. This is the point that we're starting. I believe in the next 4 to 5 years, the turning 5 years, we're going to see I think some inexplicable things. So we're going to see crime rates go down in places where they have been up for decades. We're going to see poverty levels come down in places where they've been high for decades. And people will think, oh, it's some new government policy or something like that. No, we're going to create high level fields, and everything that is within that field either levels up or must leave. Those are kind of the only two options. That's how that works, actually. Then those communities clearly will not be governed by some external centralized force. They'll be self-governed. But this is not happening through rebellion. This is not happening through violence or fights or warfare. It's just happening through an up-leveling natural sort of way. Think about it this way. It won't be announced that this is a more sovereign community. It won't be like, oh, we're putting this on billboards. It's more like your small town city council or small town council that is now comprised of a different level of people that are at a different level of consciousness, and their decisions reflect that. That's all that it really is. This is not a takeover in this sense. It's a transformation. It's a very different principle. And then what we're seeing is also a cultural renaissance. So traditions are coming back, art is coming back, real art, not the sort of psychosis kind of art where people do all kinds of weird stuff. Beautiful harmonious music at the right frequencies is making a comeback. And really we're seeing a movement towards human-centric creations. So created by humans, through humans, for humans, not for a system, not for radio, not for the market, right? Being an artist and songwriter, I haven't been in this field for decades. I can tell you that if you reach a certain level of skill or ability, everybody wants you to produce for the market, right? For the radio or for whatever the market wants. And it's actually not what your soul, your spirit wants. And this is what we're seeing now in those communities, that the real thing is coming back. And of course, any fear-based systems, which are all mainstream systems, are scarcity, lack, fear-based systems. They will not work, and they are not working in our communities. And anyone who still has that old paradigm mindset, of dog eat dog, super competitive, pushing people out of the competitors' field, and none of that. It will be collaborative, cooperative, and we'll actually see solutions come up so much quicker. We already are, because people work together rather than opposing each other. What will and is such a approach having on mainstream society? So here, let me first say what mainstream society is going through. So I'm now talking about the programmed people that have not seen the light in any kind of way. They're still running by the news and by whatever they're being told. they're going through the worst period. Like, this is ultimate. This is like completely dehumanizing. It's depressing. We have chronic disease rates, psychological and physical ones that are through the roof. We have neurosis, violence, we have immorality, we have, I mean, everything that you could possibly imagine at an exponential factor in mainstream society. And so they don't even feel themselves anymore. But they will, and the remaining ones, because a lot of people are making an exit right now, you know this, there's a huge wave. The remaining ones, not everyone, but there's a section that will be heavily influenced by communities like ours, just through our presence. So literally on a frequency level, high consciousness fields will continually disrupt sort of the manipulative energies. And when you listen to people like Sabrina Wallace and all the body of knowledge that she brought out, when you study the technologies that are currently out there and that are being deployed every single day against us, truly, then it would seem that the only solutions would be to tear all of it down, which seems all but impossible because it's everywhere. Thankfully, that's not the only, nor is it the best solution. When higher frequency fields become the norm and become so elevated, those fields will have an automatic impact on the manipulation on the lower density frequencies. They will automatically disable a lot of that and will make a lot of that impossible. I truly and wholeheartedly know this to be true, that this is exactly how it's going to unfold. You will also see that what now still seems fringe, like if you were to go to, let's say, a sports bar, one of those bars where there's 20 screens, 20 different games, and people just drink and cheer on their teams, whatever, and you were to talk about these things, they would still think you're completely crazy. But more and more, this is going to soften, because we're going beyond explaining the possibility of it and showing the reality of it. Okay, so everywhere you look, these communities already exist, but they're not loud. People want them to be loud and want them to scream, "Here we are." No, trust that compass and you'll find them. But we're showing more and more and more the reality of what is possible without AI, without gene editing, without merging with technology and robots, but by just unlocking the potential that we already have. And all of the potential is already within all of it. It doesn't need to be, we don't need to go and get it from somewhere or someone else. It's already here. We're just unlocking it. And more people are just looking in awe at how somebody in our community, for example, let's say they get sick and they have some sort of illness that the mainstream calls incurable, but then they do certain things and they just thrive and come out of it beautifully. People are taking notice. So we are influencing. Our abilities and our actions are influencing. The joy, the vitality, the most beautiful, the healthiest people, the most radiant people, the most energetic people won't be the ones that are going for the AI gene editing route. This is just a continuation of the plastic trend, right? That we've seen over the last decades of plastic surgeries and changing ourselves externally. The most beautiful people will be within our community. They will be radiant. They will be healthy. Their skin will glow. Their eyes will glow. Their energy will be feelable, palpable. They will have so much creativity and joy and harmony. This is coming from our communities and will be coming from our communities. And then the wisdom will come back. Truth is making a comeback. The true origin stories, who we are, where we came from, what manipulated us. All of this is coming back within our communities, and it's being lived, it's being taught, it's being written about. And this is, the impact that we will be having on mainstream society, political dynamics. So, like I said, some regions will become ungovernable to old systems, and sort of the system notices, like the system already knows. Their predictive models know that there's a certain section of society who's not going to play ball no matter what happens, and that we, talking about us, we're not a threat. We're not going to overthrow anything. We're just going to do our thing and invite those in who are willing to give this a try. But we will not be governable, because you're only governable when you need the government, or when you need external figures to provide for you, when you need the systems. When you don't need them, why in the hell would you ever do something that you don't want to do, right? So this is not going to work anymore. And think about tens of millions of people, families, clans, small towns, villages, withdrawing their energy from the mainstream system because they don't need it any longer, and investing all of it in their new communities and how they're doing it now. So there's a lot of that energy is coming out of the system into the new things, which is wonderful. And what we will see is people stepping out from our communities, going into mainstream society, and trying to explain what is happening. So overall, the idea that we can stop the AI, robotics, technocracy trend is, I think it's childish to think that we can stop that. Every single data point that we can get from history, and every single data point that we can get from present times, shows us that all of mainstream finance, all of mainstream development, all of mainstream technology, everything is just going in one direction. So trying to stop that would be the ultimate war. That would cause the ultimate war. And it's in on that level, it's unstoppable. But the influence that we can have as self-actualized beings, truly living what we have been talking about on all levels, now that is a whole different story. That might be more powerful than stopping it. And I believe that, actually. So the long-term vision seems to be, over the next decades, two overlapping realities: the AI optimized, more sterile, dependent lifestyle, and then the awakened, organic, sovereign life. Where the awakened, like I said, don't fight. We just outgrow. We just outgrow the mainstream system. And it happens one day at a time, one area at a time, where we outgrow it. And then this living example influences everything, including AI itself. And I don't see that there's any more powerful way than that. So I want to address a few fears that are out there by people, and that have been out there, that have heard many times. As John, when you talk about this, do you want us to live like the Amish? Do you want us to go back to the Stone Age? Do you want us to go back to living a hard life of our ancestors, farming every day in heat and just running ourselves 24 hours a day? No, because that would mean we're going back to a lie, because that's not the truth. No natural system that we can observe works like that. No. We are rediscovering and remembering the natural essence of everything that's within our world and within us and who we are. We're rediscovering that. That's not 1875 style farming. That's a whole different story. So no, we're not returning to that. As a matter of fact, if you think that by leaving or transitioning out of mainstream society into a different way of living, that you're losing something, that your quality of life is going to go down, that your well-being is going to go down, then you're misunderstanding what this means. And we are not going to live like the Amish, because if I look at the Amish, and there's absolutely no judgment there, it's pretty hard, right? It's a very rigid and sort of, strict religious practice too. But I think we're going to a synergistic model where we truly understand the proper role that we have in conjunction with nature, the real nature, not some matrix version. So this is a completely different approach, where healing doesn't mean, oh, we're out in the boonies, we don't have access to a doctor, we're going to die of infections and whatnot, but where we have that knowledge and innate ability to heal again. And I've seen every form of healing over the last decades that was forgotten. I've seen sound healing, I've seen hands-on healing, I've seen light healing, I've seen prayer healing, I've seen song healing. I mean, and then of course, not to talk about the herbs and other plants and minerals and sometimes animal parts. So that's where we're going to. We're not going backwards. We're going to a original future. And this is, if ever you felt like this technocracy is this big shadow overhead that we can't do anything about, we outgrow it. And right now, the biggest fear is that AI is going into super intelligence mode, and it's going to outperform every single human being and eventually the collective abilities of human beings. But that is only based on what these engineers understand humans to be, which they think humans are just better animals. So then if you think that you are your brain, if you think that we're at the height of our evolution, then of course you're going to think that AI can surpass us, because it can do more calculations, because it can do access and analyze more data. But if you know who we really are and what we're really capable of, which is unlimitedness, then AI can never, under any circumstances, at any factor, outperform us ever. And this is the antidote, if you will, to what is happening within mainstream society and to what is happening within technocracy. And for the last 5 years, I want to say 60% of my time, if not 60 to 70% of my time, has been really studying the solutions for this particular problem, the AI problem, and going down all kinds of directions. And this is where we land. We are outgrowing it, and we are exponentially showing what we are truly capable of, and that AI could never reach that. So this is what's growing, in my opinion, faster and better than AI. However, the but is that each and everyone listening to this needs to do their part and do what they feel called to do and level up to who they really are, like now, right? So there is an urgency here, yes, and everybody is called to participate. So if you're asking, where are these communities? How can I join them? Well, if you can't find them, build it. If they're not obvious to you somewhere there, just start them. Just start it. The ground is ripe, the soil is fertile, and people are ready. So just get started. It's better to do a small thing today than no thing at all. Do what you can with what you have where you are, and become the best possible version of yourself. This is always the key here, friends. We are actually, we'd like to invite you. We have recently bought a farm, a small farm here, and we're starting a whole new journey, which is exciting and beautiful. And in this way, a dream. We'd lived on farms before, smaller ones, but not in this way. And we are sharing our, sort of our daily learning curves and experiences the fun, the joy, the happiness. In our inspired community on Locals, this whole thing is called Farm Tales. And yeah, well, today's episode was very funny because I was chasing a chicken that, didn't want to get caught. Like, I get it. And I didn't mean to harm her. It was just, it was just where she needed to be now. So if you feel inspired to join us there, inspired.locals.com is where we share that. And another thing that I would encourage everyone to do today, if you haven't yet, because it has helped so many people on so many levels, I can't even tell you, is give FLFE a try, and start their free trial. You don't need a credit card. It's a complete, it's like a gift, just like a gift. 15 days, they give you the full service. They don't need anything from you. If you go to highconsciousnessfield.com, start the free trial. If I could recommend it more, I would, but I don't know how. I don't know how else to say it. This has assisted and helped so many people. It's a beautiful field that sort of hugs you and wraps itself around you. It's nothing fake, artificial. It's no artificial intelligence. It's just a quantum association. And this is also part of our new inner standing. It's part of the new journey moving forward, that we understand that if I have a problem today and I'm in pain, my friend 2 continents over, 10,000 miles away, can instantaneously help me feel better, because in the field there is no distance. Quantum association simply means that 2 things are connecting with each other. I mean, no matter where they are or how far apart they are. And this is the principle on which FLFE works, and how they can create and maintain a high consciousness field around you and your home. And it's a blessing. It's a true blessing. So please give it a try. highconsciousnessfield.com. What's funny?
Jim is saying, I'm assuming you finally caught it. Also looks like you were having better luck with the goats.
Okay, Jim is J-Frog here. He's been with us and in the Inspired community on Locals for a long time. And so Jim watched the video that we posted today of me chasing the chicken. So here's how this went down. I was chasing the chicken. I was whispering. I was talking. I was pleading. I was begging. Well, that little chick just had a mind of its own. So after, like, I don't know how long, I said, well, screw this. Christine walks up, opens the chicken coop door, and that little chick just jumps in. So there's that, friends. So sometimes, I thought I was a chick magnet, but apparently I'm not. All right. So much love to you all. Many blessings. And we'll be back with you again very, very soon.
Your environment shapes everything, your thoughts, your health, your energy. But most people never question the invisible field they live in. We did, and that's when FLFE found us. It's not a product, it's a field of pure life force energy that lifts everything it touches. We now live in it 24/7, and we would love to invite you to experience it too. Start your free 15-day trial now. No pressure, no strings attached. Just the truth, resonance, and peace.